on the pursuit of happiness, criminal justice versus non-criminal justice. And I wanted to have a very cutesy kind of beginning, a nice way of starting off with just a nice song by Kid Cudi. And I also wanted to add a quote, which I found out was Dr. Victor's favorite author. The moments of happiness we enjoy take us by surprise. It is not that we seize them, but they seize us. Okay, so just to give an introduction as to why I chose to do this, I was curious to see if there are differentiations between different career paths and how it affects happiness, if it does, especially with age groups as well. I wanted to see if the younger generation versus the older generation in criminal justice and non-criminal justice also have different views on how they see happiness or how they anticipate their happiness. And for my problem statement, I acknowledge that a lot in criminal justice, we seem to neglect our happiness, or we notice that our happiness kind of deflates depending on which career path. You know, police officers, EMTs, certain psychologists, we see and hear the most horrific things on this planet. And so I just wanted to see, does that affect our happiness? Is that career path really causing our happiness to deflate, or is it just other factors? So again, I chose this topic because there doesn't seem to be a lot of acknowledgement in happiness, especially in criminal justice. So with my literature review, I acknowledge that what I mean by happiness is it is considered a joyous experience where our well-being is not just in the good of the moment, but it is the point of meaningful fulfillment, that we've reached that end goal. And there's quite little research in regards to implementing happiness in their career, but there are research points where it does go into happiness in the workplace. How does that improve the employees? How does that improve performance? But not necessarily in regards to criminal justice focuses. Like I mentioned, we seem to neglect our happiness at some point in time to either put most of our efforts into our career and not getting something out of it that doesn't involve maybe a pay raise or a promotion. So there has been noticing that if you do encourage some form of emotional performance, or in the sense of congratulating employees or acknowledging their hard work, that there is higher improvement in work ethic and job satisfaction. And with trying to acknowledge and promote happiness or good bindings in the career paths, especially in criminal justice, there has been the development of positive criminology, which it focuses on trying to change criminals' perspectives and also to encourage them to be a better version of themselves, to limit or reduce the possibility of them being reincarcerated. And it was found that in regards to nurses working in a hospital, the employers implicated a meditation program within the nurses, and it was found that meditation during work was beneficial for the nurses, and it significantly improved their happiness while working in the hospitals. So these are my questions that I wanted to ask. Specifically, is there happiness in specifically career paths and activities that we do or within our age range? And self. And I also mentioned, do our career paths affect our happiness, or the other way around? Does the career path, I just said that right? Does our happiness influence our career path? And also I want to see if that happiness is seen differently between criminal justice and non-criminal justice focuses. Who doesn't love Mr. Bean wiggling about? And Molly Ringwald, that's my favorite actress. I love Molly. So as my method, it was 2 by 2 by 2 factorial between sample size, non-repeated, a mixed measure. As you can see, my independent variables were male versus female, criminal versus non-criminal, age over and under 30, and then my dependent was happiness. So the participants, I had 55 subjects. They were both faculty and staff in a small university within Midwestern Ohio. And the procedure was that they did willingly participate, confidentiality was encouraged, and it was a mixed measure by using both a survey and also a questionnaire. So some individuals were willing to take the questionnaire as well. And I did not use any additional demographics, so I did not acknowledge their ethnic background, their upbringing. None of that was a concern to me. I was more focused on the career path, the age group, and their gender. And the materials that I used was the Oxford Happiness Scale and also a personalized interview. And the techniques the methods that I used was the TNF test and Cronbach's alpha. So just to give a demonstration of how the methods table would look like. So here are my hypotheses. The first one is that there is no significant difference between males and females. And then the following, that there is either a significance or no significance between criminal justice and non-criminal justice majors. And then my last one was that there is or isn't a significant difference between people who are under 30 and those who are over 30. So this is just statistics that I found in my previous foundings. It was acknowledged that criminal justice males were happier than those who were in non-criminal justice. And then it was found that non-criminal justice females were happier than females who were in criminal justice. And it was also found that criminal justice females were happier than the non-criminal justice males. But overall, females were happier than males. And that the criminal justice focuses were happier, or excuse me, non-criminal justice were happier than the criminal justice focuses. But for a new development in my study, I did find that we found not only statistical significance, but also correlations. So there is a correlation between age and activity. So it does show that depending on the age, the older they are, and the activities that they do, that there is a strong relationship between those two. Also, that there is a correlation between gender and activity. The definition that I'm using for activity is if they enjoy leisure time outside of their workplace, so going to movies, going to the park, hiking, that kind of leisure time, that's what I consider to be activity. And also there is a correlation between ages and career paths. And so in continuation with my F and T tests, so females were found to be happier with activities. So the more activities that they do, what they do is makes them happier than when men perform certain activities. And it was also found that females were happier with themselves. So they acknowledged that their efforts and that their meaning within themselves is more beneficial, or they are happier than when men are, when they were asked, like, what do you do, or do you feel as if you are happy with yourself? And there was also statistical significance between happiness and activity. So the more activities that you do, it has nothing to do with your work, the happier you are. And statistical significance between happiness and self. So if you are more happy with yourself, if you are acknowledging that your efforts are actually worth something, then you have improvement in happiness. So this is just a more pretty demonstration. If any anybody likes colors and pictures. So this one here, the levels of happiness through activities, male versus female, is in support of.
Oh yeah, that's what you're gonna put in there.
That one?
Yes.
The female are happier with activity than men?
Correct.
Uh-huh.
And then the second one is the level of happiness, males versus females.
Which one is that one?
Here. So these two are the graphs demonstrated. The discussion, so as I mentioned, there were 3 subtypes for my study. It was the happiness and criminal justice, self and activity. So I found that there was really no statistical difference between the happiness and career path. So it wasn't necessarily there wasn't a lot of males or females that generated towards being criminal justice or non-criminal justice. They were pretty similar in regards to their happiness. The values were just pretty close-knit. There was no difference. And the Oxford happiness scale that I used was from a 1 to 6 scale. So the more that the person scored, the happier that they were, and that's how I got my means, and that's how I measured that. The females were happier than males in certain aspects. And so the significance that I wanted to acknowledge in this study is that we have improved on showing or creating different methods of positivity, especially in in criminal justice. So programs such as the positive criminology, and also programs that would help with inmates, so improving breathing techniques and positive activities, meditation, not only for criminals, but also for those that work in the criminal field. And I would like to acknowledge that it is important because our happiness does play a role in our everyday lives. We can't just be walking zombies. We can't expect to be this robot programmed to just serve, protect, and be beneficial or helpful to somebody else. How can we achieve that if we ourselves are not happy or not fulfilling to a point where we could be beneficial to somebody else? So I believe that if we acknowledge and we promote happiness, especially in the criminal justice field, we could make changes such as maybe monthly or bi-monthly weekly meetings with a psychologist just to talk about what they're going through at work, what they're going through maybe outside of work, if it helps them to talk about that, and maybe even having policies where certain people can take cumulative self-care days. So when there are, because we have sick leave, yes, and we do have mental health leave, but it's still in a way is counted against you and against your pay. And I would like to maybe implement that if we promote having happiness within the career paths, such as criminal justice, that maybe they can have those self-care days that won't negatively impact their work. So, in conclusion, this study focuses on the different career paths and how it can affect our happiness, not only by the career, but also the age and also the activities that we do in our day-to-day lives. And I would like to create or maybe promote motion towards helping those in the criminal justice fields feel safer, not only within the career, but also within themselves and those around them. And these are my references. I'll add more, I promise.